Forget Hollywood monsters. Forget Caped Crusaders. California's real wild child?
Bigfoot.
It all began in the rugged wilderness of Bluff Creek, Humboldt County. Meet Jerry Crew, just a bulldozer operator trying to do his job, until one morning, he found giant 16-inch footprints around his machine. He brought a plaster cast to the Humboldt Times, where journalist Andrew Genzoli coined the name. Bigfoot, that's right. California named the beast. 1958 was the birth of Bigfoot as a term. Almost a decade later, the legend went visual. October 20th, 1967. Bluff Creek, the most famous Bigfoot footage ever captured. Shot by Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin. This is where we met Patty, that iconic, side-glancing strut that still fuels campfire debates. What you're watching is the unedited, original film. The filmmakers were Roger Patterson and Robert "Bob" Gimlin. Patterson died of cancer in 1972 and maintained right to the end that the creature on the film was real. Patterson's friend, Gimlin, has always denied being involved in any part of a hoax with Patterson. Gimlin mostly avoided publicly discussing the subject from at least the early 1970s until about 2005, except for 3 appearances, when he began giving interviews and appearing at Bigfoot conferences. Some locals say the site was cursed after that film.
That's about time. Hey. It's only half full.
It's enough to get us on down the road a piece. Listen, why don't you hurry it up? I don't like it up here at all.
What's eating you?
There's something out there, Jasper. I seen big, huge footprints down by that stream like I never seen before.
Riggs, my good man, if you continue to travel with me, you'll see a lot of things you've never seen before.
Bluff Radio, Tower 65046, approximately 40 miles northwest of Red Bluff. Mayday! Mayday! Red Bluff! You're reading me!
On May 24, 1976, 5 backpackers were deep in Northern California's forests when one of them, 23-year-old Sherry Darvill, was reportedly abducted by a large, hairy creature. A 150-person search party was launched. Sheriff's deputies found massive footprints and plaster cast them. "We don't really know what we've got up there," the sheriff said. Later that night, Sherry was found wandering down a remote road, hysterical, screaming every time someone said Bigfoot. But here's where it got stranger. She smelled like perfume. Her jaw was broken, and authorities started asking questions. Eventually, the sheriff's department called it a hoax and sued Shasta County for the search costs. Fast forward to 2025, and Bigfoot's back, this time in the legislature. Assembly Bill 666 will name Bigfoot as California's official state cryptid. Yup, right alongside the golden poppy and the redwood tree. The bill says Bigfoot is a legendary cryptid with origins in Humboldt County. The bill lays out the cultural and economic case. Bigfoot brings in thousands of tourists each year. He's a mascot for wild places, a symbol of mystery, and, let's face it, he's ours. From Jerry Crew's Muddy Bulldozer, to Sherry Darvill's Vanished Trail, to AB 666 in Sacramento, Bigfoot isn't just a legend. He's a Californian.
The truth is out there, and it begins with you. Welcome to the Cosmic Fold, where we talk high strangeness. Call us at 928-288-2942. That's 928-288-2942. Or join us by video. If you're at a computer, just look for the link in the chat. Buckle up, sit around our virtual campfire, and let's get started.
Bigfoot!
That was good.
You know, I played the whole thing, even though it was a little bit long, of that original film, because to be honest with you, I thought maybe it was a hoax. But then when you see their original film, it kind of like, I'm not so sure now, you know, because And you could tell when it's shaking because he's like, what the hell am I looking at here? You know? So I don't know. What do you guys think? Was that fake? Or, I mean, there's some people say it. I don't know. But it kind of swung me more towards it's real after seeing the original film.
I don't know. I don't know. You know, I mean, I keep thinking, you know, Orson Welles did a real good job of scaring the crap out of a lot of people decades before that. So I don't know. I don't see why there couldn't be a large primate, you know, and primates walking on two legs, you know, hello.
And then that other one was it's now moved into the public domain. It was from 1970 called Bigfoot. It was a B film that was almost as bad as the ones I make. And I just thought it was hilarious because it was funny. And I think that it was inspired by that story where the woman is supposedly carted off by Bigfoot. Now, that's not the only one. There are a lot of other ones out there about people encountering Bigfoot, but that kind of game. But I love California as bill number 666 to name it the official cryptid.
That's funny. That is
funny. It's kind of going through. So anyway, welcome everyone. I'm Deborah. We've got Al, we've got Day, and we've got Jose. Woohoo! So how's everyone tonight?
And we have Pepita.
Oh, Pepita.
Our killer chihuahua.
My cat, Mika Monster, is hiding because I was taking a bath and she decided to walk along the edge of the tub and she fell in. So I'm full of scratches and she's wet and mad.
Oh, no.
So I know Jose's got a lot of personal stories that went on. Al, you said you have one too.
Yeah, I did, and I got a hold of the person who told it to me, and they don't want me to share it. It's got to do with the Paradise Fire, and there was a lot of deaths and there was a lot of destruction up there. So we're gonna have to pass on that. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, let's do the history first, and then we'll get into the weird stuff so we can hear Jose's stories.
Oh yeah, looking forward to it.
Okay. And here we are with the slightly bizarre history of California.
Slightly bizarre. The geological birth. Oh, let me slide that up. The geological birth of California. My camera is messing up on me. Okay. Well, formed by tectonic collisions between the Pacific and North American plates. 40 million years ago, give or take, 2-3 months, Sierra Nevada uplift began. San Andreas Fault formed. It's still active, and as we all know, is very disruptive. The oddity, Altadena's Gravity Hill. Cars seem to roll upward. Yeah, I did actually watch a couple of YouTube documentaries on that. When they explained it, it makes perfect sense. But to see it, anyway, the image you're looking at, if you're on YouTube or if you're watching the video stream, is the opposite view of Gravity Hill. It's looking south. If you park your car between where the camera is, I guess where that odd fire hydrant is, and the red car up there, that sets your gear into neutral, you'll roll away from the camera toward the red car in the distance. And it's very cool. It is an optical illusion, though, but it is very cool, though, just be standing there and watching that happen. I've seen videos on that, everything from cars to basketballs to, people on skateboards and what have you. But it's very cool. It's a very cool thing over there. But yeah, 40 million years ago, California.
Yep. There it is. Yeah, a great activity for kids at night. But I loved how the Historical Society described that. They go, it rolls toward and away from the camera. So I was like, okay, maybe.
Yeah. I was like, huh? What? Toward and away. There are plenty of indigenous peoples, First Nations people in California. I'm not going to read them all, but there's a lot up there. You can see there's over 100 distinct native tribes before European contact. Notable tribes at Chumash, Tongva, Yurok, and Pomo. Very, very rich cultural traditions, trade systems, a lot of oral history. And the oddity here is the Chumash legends describe skyboats. Skyboats, yeah. Spanish missions to Mexican rule. It's been all over the map. 21 missions built from 1769 up to 1833 under the Spanish rule. Mexico ruled California after 1821. One of the oddities is the Mission San Miguel. It's reportedly haunted by murder victims. And the sources for this information is the California Missions Foundation and rumors of haunting, hauntedplaces.org. That's an interesting website, by the way.
It is very, very much.
Then who could forget the gold rush? In 1848, gold was discovered at Sutter's Mill, sparking mass migration. Led to economic transformation and the birth of major cities, and including the San Francisco 49ers. I'm sorry. An oddity, prospector claimed Bigfoot led him to gold. And that was referenced in Bigfoot Encounters Past and Present by Daniel Perez. See also Weird California by Greg Bishop for anecdotal accounts. And that wooden bridge there, or I guess that's a bridge. Train station? I don't know what that is, but it's very cool.
Train thing, yep.
California State Park. Yeah, that's pretty neat. Yeah. Now, becoming a state. How about let's talk about that, because that's come up in the news a lot. And almost not. California became a U.S. state in 1850. Early proposals to split California into multiple states. I will add to that. Still going on today.
Yep.
That's the oddity. California Republic. Yeah.
Or a separate country at this point. Don't they have a bill to possibly leave?
Oh, yeah. The two bills that I'm aware of that come and go are splitting it into 3 states. One of them was splitting into 4 states, with the Los Angeles area being its own state. And the other one is obviously, the bill to secede from the Union. That's been around for a long time. Yeah.
Heating up again.
Well, California is the 5th largest economy in the world.
Yep.
So if they did, I have no doubt that they could sustain themselves. Agriculture, aerospace, and avocados. California leads in agriculture, aerospace, and entertainment. Of course, you all know about Hollywood, which, by the way, I read today that the Hollywood sign is being moved to Las Vegas because they didn't renew the lease on the mountain. I forgot the name of the mountain, Lee something or another. For environmental that just literally came across my feed about a half hour ago, so I've got to vet it. But still,
wow.
The Central Valley is America's produce powerhouse, and the oddity, Bakersfield hosted a singing carrot festival. You can find all about the Carrot Festival in the visitbakersfield.com website. And for those of you who noticed those vegetable festivals, there is no Ryan County in Georgia, and there is no watermelon fair festival.
These singing carrot things are showing up all over. I noticed in the news, so it's it's a thing. A bunch of bands play and whatever. They just celebrate their produce, so it's kind of cool.
Carrots, yeah. Well, you have to understand, carrots will last quite a while. You can't really do that with an avocado because the festival would be between 9 o'clock and 9:15 a.m. on a Tuesday.
That's true.
Quakes, cults, and staircases to nowhere. Now, obviously, we all know about the California earthquakes. Major earthquakes in 1906 and 1989 reshaped cities. I was in Oakland in 1989 when that quake hit. That was not fun.
Oh, really?
Cultural. If this was an earthquake show, I'd have some stories for you. Cultural revolutions, the 1960s, obviously to the present, and the oddity, the integration. It's a Venusian design. There'll be more about in the next slide, but that's the Winchester Mystery House. There was
we watched
the movie. I can't remember Meryl Streep, maybe, or
no, Helen Mirren.
Helen Mirren, yeah. starred the movie about the Winchester House. She played the Winchester widow. It's fascinating.
It is. She shows up
in
in our paranormal slide there.
Yeah,
Pretty
yeah.
interesting.
The Integration is the fusion of art, science, and magic from their website, integration.com. The Integration, circa 1954, is located in Landers, California, about 20 miles north of Joshua Tree National Park. Its creator, George Van Tassel, born 1910, died 1978, claimed that the structure is based on the design of Moses' tabernacle, the writings of Nikola Tesla, and the telepathic directions from extraterrestrials. Is one of a kind, 38 foot high, 55 foot diameter, all wood dome was designed to be an electrostatic generator for the purpose of rejuvenation and time travel.
I've been in.
Not unlike the
structure
there? On top of Central Park West in Ghostbusters. It's designed to channel. Never mind.
What was it like, Jose? In
Yeah.
So now that building, they've turned it into like a sound frequency meditation type of room.
I saw that.
Right.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what it was when I went there around 2019, maybe. But you go in there and the way that they hit all the vibrational instruments bounce off the wall, and it makes your body feel something, because you're just laying there, and I'm like, I've done, that's how I relax. I just lay down, listen to some music. But that experience was a lot different. And then the guy that built that has a lot more stories about being visited about from UFOs, seeing them frequently after building the dome, and fascinating story.
Cool. Well, fortunately, it's not going anywhere anytime soon, because it was listed in 2019 on the National Register of Historic Places by the National Park Service, which right now is still in existence.
Yes. Well, is this guy, or was it somebody affiliated with him that took some pictures of UFOs? I know there's something about some pictures about the Venusian stuff too.
It was one of the groups that come up here that does the UFO tours. He went down there, and they did a special private session, and he was able to take pictures from him. Yeah.
Cool.
That is very cool. Very cool. California today. Almost 40 million residents, fifth largest global economy on a per capita basis. California is the second largest economy in the world. That's the per capita basis. Oddity, AB 666. California's Bigfoot protection bill, currently in progress. That is cool.
I think it's funny they called it 666 also.
Yeah. I think every state should have a cryptid, an official
They
cryptid.
should. They should.
Gold, Ghost, and Glamour. California makes history with the twist of weird. That's right.
Okay. So do you want to go into the other stuff and we can share stories or whatever? Or do you have any comments on that?
My experience with California is limited. I lived there twice, back in the 70s in Marina del Rey, and in the late 80s for a short while in Oakland, which is when that earthquake hit, and I left pretty much immediately after that happened. I was like, no, I'm going, head back east.
When it comes to the stories, I mean, what we have here is just such a small slice. I was just blown away by how many different things go on, that were reported in California. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I thought Arizona had a lot. California just like wipes it out. I mean, there's a lot there. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah. I'd imagine when we get to, places north of that, like, Montana and Oregon, there's going to be a lot of stuff, especially Montana.
Oh, it's going to get tougher, yeah.
It's going to get, wild. California, high strangeness, hauntings, cryptids, fogs, and strange sounds. Here we go. Bam. Ghosts and hauntings.
So, Jose, do you have any ghost stories from that you had there?
Do tell.
Yeah. Well, I mean, being that it's California, that's where I was raised. So a lot of the stuff that I experienced has happened there.
Wow.
I'm thinking I have so many experiences that I'm probably going to share them as we go along and we hit the topic. But for this one, I mean, we've already touched about the stairways that lead to nowhere, and that was one of the things that led me to start going hiking to different locations. And one of those locations was the Jacinto Mountains, which relates to ghost sightings. So the report there is that the Quakes arrived there or migrated there. They bought it. They bought the land, formed it. But they also reported that on the mountainsides during dawn or dusk, they would see strange figures on the edges staring down at them. And I always thought it was a cool idea, cool story. And I would always read these stories when I was on the younger side. But as soon as I got my car,
freedom.
It's time to explore. It's time to explore. So yeah, I took the trip up to the Jacinto Mountains, and that's maybe like 14 miles up. So it's like a 28 miles round trip. And I'm like, so if I have to experience something, I have to go during dusk time or dawn.
Yeah.
I went during dusk. And I got there. When I got there, it was still dark. And as soon as I started hiking up, the sun started coming out. And sure enough, fogginess, but nothing. But I'm like, okay, there's so many reports about everyone seeing something.
Yeah.
So I went there 3 more times. On the second time is where I started seeing something. And I'm like, I believe it now. Because it's not even a scary experience. It's just you hiking up the trail. You could be with someone, you're talking. And all of a sudden, silence, and you feel like someone's watching you, but from up above. And as soon as whoever's fast enough out of the two of you, you look up by the corner of your eye, you see 3 to 4 shadowy figures looking down, but then they vanish.
Oh,
and
wow.
the weirdness is that the way that they look is thin, dark, with long, it's like if they were wearing like capes, but with like those long brim squared hats.
Interesting.
And people reported either seeing when they look up or behind them. And that was the first experience going up there that I was like, whoa.
It's behind me, isn't it?
So what do people think they are?
Well, many people, because of the whole quakes moving up there, it caused a little turmoil because they were taking up most of the land that had water in it.
Yeah.
So, they had to obviously kill people, or there was wars between people. So the way that they describe them or the way that they look, they kind of look like pilgrims. So people do think that it's just the souls of the people that got there first, and they're just watching others hikers just pass by.
How interesting.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Wow. Very cool.
Oh.
It is. Winchester Mystery House. Sarah Winchester, influenced by her occult beliefs, did not allow herself to be photographed. This, if you're looking at this picture here, it's actually a wax figure of her seated in a horse-drawn buggy. It's copied from her only known photo taken by a hidden camera. The Winchester Mystery House in San Jose is a 160-room Victorian mansion that was owned and built by Sarah Winchester. Yes, from the firearms company. Heiress. Construction began on the house in 1884 and continued almost nonstop until 1922, racking up a bill of $5.5 million. Why the unending breakneck pace? Because Sarah had been convinced by a medium that all the spirits of the people killed by Winchester firearms had placed a curse on her family and would haunt her forever unless she moved west and built a house to match their specifications as revealed to her in seances. Originally, it was a simple 8-room farmhouse. The property transformed under Sarah's constant guidance into that sprawling 24,000 square foot mansion with 160 rooms, including 40 bedrooms, 2 ballrooms, 6 kitchens, and 13 bathrooms, but oddly just 1 shower. That is odd, right? Features of the house include staircases leading to nowhere, doors that open into walls, and windows overlooking other rooms, all supposedly designed to confuse any malevolent spirits that might be following her. And confusing everybody, actually. You can go to visitcalifornia.com, click on experience, and then haunted spots, California, and there's a lot more information. And there's the movie with Helen Mirren, which
it was well done.
It was well done, yeah. From what I understand, it's pretty, it's pretty accurate. So yeah, maybe I'll have to watch that again.
Yeah, it was good.
It's a good movie.
Did you ever see Red Rose by Stephen King?
The
That
movie?
one?
No,
Yeah.
I've never seen. I haven't seen too many Stephen King movies. I've read almost everything he's put on paper, but the first few movies I saw were kind of a disappointment compared to the book.
Yeah.
So I just quit watching his movies. Although Cujo,
Or Rose Red, I think it's called Rose Red. But anyway, that's kind of loosely based also on
the
this
Winchester.
Winchester story.
Yeah.
But I just, can you imagine being in that state of mind where that's intense? And then I'm thinking, who cleans the floor and dusts and everything? It's like,
I know.
that's a
And
big job.
to have the money to do that too. It's like, okay, let's just build this giant monstrosity and see what happens.
Well, I mean, imagine you have all the money made from all the gun sales.
Yeah.
Infinite.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Queen Mary, Long Beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, the ocean liner is said to be haunted by multiple spirits, including a sailor crushed in the engine room. From the time of construction began in 1930 in Clydebank, Scotland, Queen Mary was destined to stand in a class all her own, despite suffering economic setbacks during the Great Depression, which stalled construction on the ship for several years. Cunard Line spared no expense on building the Queen Mary, which is originally known as Job Number 534. And that picture of the Queen Mary looks like a tugboat in front of it, and a dirigible and the American flag can all be seen on queenmary.com/paranormal attraction.
Yeah, they sell tickets that you could go there and.
I bet.
Have
Have you been on there? Have you been on there,
day
Jose?
tours, night tours, and then some schools, which my school participated in doing prom night on it. Dumb idea, because obviously everybody was not there to dance.
Right?
There was actually an incident that night that I don't think anybody or any of the adults or teacher staff really relayed of what really happened, but many of us planned that we weren't going to go there to dance, and we were trying to get into whatever entry we could that was open. So we all divided into groups, and
you split up. Haven't you seen any horror movies?
Hey, it was a large group. Each group had like 6 kids to a group. So we all went different directions, and then all of a sudden we just hear screaming, and everybody runs up, staff runs down, a bunch of people fainted, passed out, saying that they heard someone running after them. The one guy that did make it up from that same group said he felt someone grab him, which the person that was behind him also yelled, "Someone grabbed me," and fainted, but he made it up. And then after that, no one knows what really happened. So that was a cool experience.
Yeah, I bet.
Isn't there something kind of weird that goes? Isn't there a swimming pool in there or something that's like blocked off? But
Yeah,
somebody
there's-
got in there and they had kind of a chilling experience in there too. Something
there's
about
swimming
those pools.
pools. You have what your regular corridors that a big ship has, all metal. You hear clanking, you hear whispers, but it's like you seem to be like in a tunnel. So anybody that does anything slightly, it echoes. So you just got to be careful when you go down there to investigate that you don't pick up any of your own noises.
Exactly.
Still be very cool.
Yeah.
To see that.
This is on my bucket list. I definitely want to go there.
The Bodie Ghost Town?
Yes.
Mono County, an abandoned town where visitors report ghost sightings and curse-inducing thefts. More than 100 structures remain, as do the supposed spirits of prospectors. While dishware shards and nails can be found on the street, anyone who takes home a souvenir risks the curse of the Bodie. And it's also against park rules. You can go to visitcalifornia.com again and click on experience in that haunted spots in California. I'd like to visit that. That looks pretty cool.
It does. I mean, I'm so obsessed with that place, and I don't know why, that I even have it as a screensaver on my computer at work. And it's like you see all these pictures, and it's like, you know, like the hardware store or the drugstore or whatever, the stuff is still on the shelves. They just left it all.
Yeah.
So it's like going back in time. I mean, to me, it just looks really cool, and you just kind of take your own tour. Have you been there, Jose?
No. any location that tells you something can follow you back home, I'm okay. I'll watch the YouTube through the TV. I'm good.
Oh, as long as you don't steal anything, they'll stay where they're supposed to be.
I'm a strong believer that some of these crystals and rocks hold energy.
Oh yeah.
And if I go there and my boot picks up a tiny rock,
I was just thinking that.
You got a hitchhiker.
That's it right there.
For me, it's just like, oh man, just to look in these stores and to see them, like, I mean, one of my other like fascinations is just urban exploration. I just love watching that stuff. And these people, you know, whether it's in Europe or, I mean, it's basically a worldwide thing. And they go into these old abandoned, and sometimes they'll find things that are just left like 100 years ago, exactly how it was. Yep. That whole thing is just so interesting to me. I don't know why, but it is. So
I wonder if there are any abandoned towns around here. The only ones I know of are under like Lake Lanier, you know, where they had kicked out all the black people, of course, because and flooded the valley and made a lake for rich people. But Preston Castle, Ione, I'm guessing the pronunciation of that, if I remember my Greek. Former reform school where murdered housekeeper's ghost reportedly roams. Writes Joe Daly, quote, visitors routinely report hearing loud, piercing screams echoing through its cursed halls. Much of the spectral wailing is attributed to Anna Corbin, a housekeeper in the home who was brutally murdered in the basement in 1950. But hers is not the only spirit to wander these grounds. According to legend, the transitionary souls of 17 boys, broken by the cruelty of their keepers, remain trapped there. Most notably, Samuel Goins. He met his end with the bullet in his back during a doomed escape attempt. Preston Castle's malevolent energy has been known to seize upon the minds of visitors, filling them with a nameless dread.
You know, places like that, not just in California, but all
everywhere,
over.
Yeah.
You know, these reform centers, and then they called other places like poorhouses. I think there's one in Illinois. Next time I'm up there, I might go to that one. And, you know, the people were so abused and oppressed that whether it's ghosts or not, that energy is like
it's just there,
imbued in the walls. You know, there's just something about those places that
when we get to when we finally get to New York, where I was born, there is a massive, I don't know any other word to describe it. It's just a massive abandoned psychiatric hospital. Not too
far. I've seen that. Yes.
Yeah, not too far from where I used to live. And obviously it's on an island, and you're not supposed to go there. It's off limits to people, but obviously, you know, urban explorers go there, and there's a lot of pictures of it. We'll talk about that down the road, I guess.
So this Preston Castle actually reminds me, there in the hometown of where my wife is from, Santa Ana, there's an old courthouse that is still active today. You can go there and do wedding vows and solve all your criminal whatever. Well, that building in itself has its own history of being haunted and whatnot. But that building that's right across from it, just like you guys said, was a YMCA building. But it's been, I mean, since I remember walking those streets, and that's 5 years old, that building has always been abandoned, always been boarded up. So at age 15, I got me a group of kids, and we're like, we're going to go in there. Now, the one thing I never did prior to this was check around the building, and we did that night. So this building, obviously, it's an old construction built out of bricks, but it has a lot of inscriptions of Masonic inscriptions, a lot, all over the building. And then we finally found a broken window, got in there, and this building probably had about 8 stories. So what we wanted to do is get to the top, see if there was access to the roof, and then check it out from there, and then go every level down. We got to the top. There was no access to the roof. So we started exploring that one. That's when we started hearing shuffling away from where we were. So everybody was together. We heard shuffling on the other side of the building. Obviously, all being guys and thinking we're tough, we're like, let's go after it. We start going after whatever shuffling. We get there, there's nothing there. And all of a sudden, things start flying at us. But it's
oh my God.
Not from one single direction. It's from, let's say this on our right side was a hall. The left side was the door. You hear bulbs being thrown to that door. You see old books being launched onto that corridor.
Ooh.
I mean, the only thing we could do is, we're out.
Bye.
Everybody ran down to the stair. Everybody was falling over everybody. Scrambled out. We couldn't find the window that we went in. So we made it. I mean, if the cops are listening, I don't live in California no more.
Like you found the first broken window.
Right. We had to make another exit and get out. So we just busted another window and bounced out. But that place, that same location, you have the courthouse. Across the street, you have the YMCA. And if you kind of form a triangle, there's an old historic house where a doctor used to live who would perform underground abortions. And a lot of women would not make it.
Yeah.
And would pass. That store, that house still does tours, but the people that live around and the businesses that are there, because I went over and interviewed a lot of these people. I was into this. I was like an all UFO ghost story reporter type of guy. So I went to the next door business, and sure enough, they say at night, depending when the time of the month it was, you can hear wails of children or screams of women, but there's no explanation because everything else around there is just businesses that once 8 o'clock hits, everything's closed.
Yeah.
And you hear reports of apparitions and loud noises. So I'm like, I mean, I'm a strong believer in all that because I've experienced it. So
sure.
I mean, to have books and stuff flying. I mean, I lived in a haunted place in Dallas too, that happened. And it is so unnerving. And when you live in it, it was horrible. The most horrible thing I think I've ever gone through in my life. And like that place. So was it still like furnished and stuff? Like the people just got out of Dodge to have books flying around? Or
it wasn't fully furnished. They obviously took, it looks like they took most of the major stuff, but everything else that was left behind, you can, like old bookshelves that were still nailed to the wall, cabinets, old frame beds, tables, chairs. I think that's all I could remember. But that fear is a complete different fear, because as soon as that happened, everybody's looking at each other and everyone's saying, run. And they can't move.
You flipped sideways. I think they're still chasing you.
Oh my God.
His internet may have.
It might have, yeah. Yeah, we're gonna, when we get to New York, we're gonna have a 3-hour show. It's just the way it's gonna be. I used to live.
Definitely.
I spent 2 years living in the building was the old courthouse and jail, and it was separated into apartments. And my apartment were the old jail cells. We'll explore that down the road, though. So,
oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, that place that Jose was talking, that is insane. That's pretty scary.
It is.
And as they say, you don't believe that stuff until you've experienced it. And once you've experienced it, it's like, oh man. And I'm kind of like, I don't know if I would be interested in ghost hunting just because that stuff is just so nasty. I don't want to tap into it and bring it home.
Yeah.
So
there's several ghost tours here in the Atlanta area, and there's a lot of Atlanta, modern Atlanta was built on top of old Atlanta. So it's an elevated city, and a lot of the underground is kind of creepy. So yeah, it's going to be fun. Going to be fun, they say.
Hopefully he'll be able to come back on. Our whole area has been like this for about a week, actually. Yeah. So
how about the Carey House Hotel in is it Placerville? I think it's Placerville.
I think so, yeah.
For today, it's Placerville. Haunted by Stanley the Bellhop. With frequent reports of cold spots and ghostly activity. San Francisco Gate reports it was built during the gold rush more than a century and a half ago. The Carey House Hotel in Placerville is one of the oldest hotels in all of California. It served as a gold exchange and a gambling hall, and it hosted presidents and movie stars, and so many riches have passed through its doors that during a renovation, owners found enough gold dust embedded in the floors that its value financed the addition of a 4th story.
Can you imagine? One of the things I've noticed about the California thing is, like some of these other states, you see like older newspapers, yellow journalism, but these are newer, more modern, bigger, well-named newspapers that are talking about. Now, it could be that they're just more open-minded to stuff.
Oh, it's California.
But there's a lot of California people moving here, so I think it's kind of influencing how people think out here too. Might,
you never know. Let's talk a little bit about some UFO sightings. How about that? Strangeness. Little strangeness. This is also a little strangeness right here. Isn't she cute?
Isn't she?
Fresno UFO sightings. Residents report lights hovering over the city, sparking UFO investigations. We've talked a lot about lights in the sky. Fox 26 News stated on January 15th to 2025 that a light was recorded in the sky by a Fox 26 tower camera just after 4 a.m. The light appeared to hover over downtown Fresno. Fox added that 4 days later, a private pilot asked Fresno Tower about drone activity. The tower said whoops, something just went, what? Hang on a minute. My screen just went dead. There it is. Fox added that 4 days later, just poof. 4 days later, a private pilot asked Fresno Tower about drone activity. The tower said they filter out small objects from radar. Soon after, a police helicopter was dispatched to check on a drone-like object near Highway 41 at about 3,000 feet. Another pilot reported something following him at 3,500 feet. The first pilot later spotted a white object over downtown, and of course, FAA has not responded to these inquiries. You can read all about that on kmph.com. News, local UFO sightings spark intrigue over. And that's recent. It's only a few months ago. Interesting. Well, it looks like we're the only ones here.
My internet had just gone again, too.
Oh, yeah. It looks like we're the only ones here. Yeah.
Well, I clicked up. I've got access to about 4 different things, so we'll see if this one works. Might be slow.
Yeah. Catalina Island. Whoa.
No.
Wait.
Whoa.
Wait. We just did that. There we go. Hello.
No, it's supposed to. Where did it go? Okay.
All right.
We've got a ghost in the machine here. Okay.
Well, there you go. The UAPX expedition in Catalina Island is a scientific team, and they collected mysterious UAP data near Catalina Island. And in July 2021, University of Albany, I guess, physics faculty joined UAPX on a week-long data gathering expedition focused on UAPs near Avalon, California, where Catalina Island is. Their paper reviewed the hardware and software techniques used, discussed successes and failures, and offered guidance for future efforts. Initial findings are based on 1 hour of triggered visible night vision footage, 600 plus hours of infrared radio video or IR video, and 55 hours of radiation data. After resolving most anomalies, one remains a dark object seen around 4 a.m. on July 16th, possibly linked to an unexplained ionizing radiation. The paper concludes with statistical guidelines for UAP research aimed at reducing confirmation bias. You can read the abstracted paper at arxiv.org. That's pretty interesting. I mean, you get that's a lot of equipment. Oh, I think Jose's coming back. He's trying. There he is. He's back. So how was the abduction? Tell us all about it.
We thought the ghost got you.
Hey,
mine kind of went down. But mine went down shortly after yours did. So there's something going on out here.
Yeah.
But okay. I was going to ask you about that building you were in. So what was it used for? It was a YMCA, or were you saying a YMCA was there?
Well, I mean, that's what the outside of the building still has, like the lettering YMCA engraved in the bricks. So right. I mean, it hasn't changed since then. So yeah, it has the YMCA, but it also has a lot of Masonic symbols, a lot of the usual compass, triangle, a lot of there is a lot of I guess you can consider them Knight Templar signs on the walls too. But I mean, it could all be tied up together. I'm not sure.
Well, that was the thing, because the YMCA, I don't think is Masonic. I don't think so. And so I was wondering if it was a Masonic temple before that, or if there was something weird going on there that they put all these symbols in to try to ward it off. I mean,
that's what it was similar to what we were thinking, because it does look like sigils that you were kind of ward something off. But then if you look at Masonic groups that have like what's that other group right now? The elk, not elk lodges, the other lodges.
Moose?
Is it still Masonic lodges? Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So,
I've gone to a couple
most of them, they'll have like the big fancy buildings on top, but most of the meetings are held underground, like the basement or whatever. So that building, all the Masonic symbols that we would see were at the bottom floor, and there was still more floors to go down to. Even on the outside, there's stairways to go down, but there's no access to that bottom location. We were able to get through all 8 floors except for that bottom. I don't know how many floors down there, but we weren't able to get down there.
Wow.
Try breaking a window.
Do you have, or I don't know if access would have been available to you then, but do you have ghost hunting equipment?
Back then, no. Back then, I mean, YouTube was barely a thing. I think MySpace was around. So a lot of the ghost stories were being spread through MySpace or your regular chats through Google.
Yeah, bulletin boards.
Oh, here we go again.
Oh, wait, you're flipping. Wait a minute. Yeah, there he goes. Sideways. You're still here, Deb, right?
I am.
All right.
I am. Well, what was interesting about this, I kind of looked through that abstract on their studies. And what's interesting, they have a whole thing on pixels, breaking that down and to identify stuff.
Sure,
And
yeah.
when I've gone through these huge, like Jose's, and then we had another one, I took like 19 seconds and stretched it out to like 28 minutes. And my analysis was very much the same as how these people did it. So I'm thinking maybe in chat, in OpenAI, they may have put some of this data in there. But I think I'm going to, next time I'm analyzing something, I'm going to put their paper up in there, have it read it and run it through their, so there isn't confirmation bias in it. I think it's kind of cool.
That's very cool. That's very cool. Borrego.
I put this in just because we love triangles.
Oh, God, the shadows in the darkness. Strangeness in the Borrego Triangle. Yeah, it's an area that's known for UFOs, ghost lights, and other strange phenomena. In their 2024 documentary, Derek Hayes and David Flora explored unique areas and stories of weird phenomena of the Borrego Triangle, an area full of anomalous phenomena, including cryptids, ghost disappearances, and UFO. You can check this out on IMDb. That looks like very much a B movie, but it looks like something we would watch.
Probably.
Yeah.
We love B movies.
I was thinking that looks good. I want to see if it's on Netflix, but it's like your one-stop shop with all this stuff, all in that one triangle.
With us, if it's made by the Asylum, we'll watch it. Cryptids and such. This should be interesting. Yes, cryptids and such.
Oh, now this next one coming up is my favorite one because it's so hilarious to me.
Okay. Ooh, look at that. It looks like a couple of giant clothespins. Fresno Nightcrawler. Strange creature with long legs seen on security cameras. No torso. The Fresno Bee writes that Fresno Nightcrawler first came to the public's attention in a video shot by a local resident in 2007, described as a ghostly, pale pair of pants. The Fresno Nightcrawler has gained a devoted fan following since it was first captured on video. You can go to the FresnoBee.com local section there and see that. That could be a very old man just with their britches hiked all the way up.
I've seen a plethora of videos on YouTube where people are, and it's like pants walking around. I just think it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's funny. Where's my pants? There they are.
Even in Fresno, they have like, Nightcrawler cookies, and they have like, people just love it. So.
Oh, look at that. That's got to be AI. Well, of course it is. That's very cool.
Oh, definitely.
That's very cool. Tahoe Tessie. Lake Tahoe, lake monster sightings, of course, describe a serpent-like creature. California City News says that it's a 30 to 60-foot lake monster who dwells in deep underwater caves. Those who've seen Tahoe Tessie believe she's either a prehistoric animal or an undiscovered species. Skeptics say she's likely a large sturgeon that has been misidentified and at times exaggerated. I would think it's going to be difficult to confuse a 30 to 60-foot lake creature with a sturgeon. I mean, sturgeons are pretty insane looking, but still, come on.
Exactly. I thought the same thing. It's like.
Yeah, especially if you're talking underwater caves. We have just the
way.
Smallest understanding of what lives where.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, I definitely always believe in a possibility of these creatures. It's just we don't understand what they are.
Yeah.
Right on. Totally agree. Except for the pants walking around.
That is funny.
Sure
That is funny.
Yeah.
I have a good mind to buy like 10,000 like clothespins, the old-fashioned kind, and paint them white, and then put a little keychain on them and sell them. The Lemurians of Mount Shasta. Mystical subterranean race that's said to live beneath the mountain. According to local Indian tribes, Mount Shasta is inhabited by the spirit chief Skell, who descended from heaven to the monument's summit. In 1899, Frederick Spencer Oliver published A Dweller on Two Planets, which claimed the survivors from a sunken continent called Lemuria were living in or on Mount Shasta. In 1904, a British prospector named J.C. Brown claimed to have discovered a lost underground city beneath Mount Shasta. Of course, you can find all of this, activenorcal.com. Strange Paranormal Encounters of Mount Shasta.
I actually bought that book, A Dweller on Two Planets, a couple months ago. I'm going to read it just to see what they have to say. I like those older accounts.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Skinwalkers, Joshua Tree. Shape-shifting beings tied to native lore have been spotted in the desert. Joshua Tree skinwalkers are tied to stories from the indigenous inhabitants of the Mojave Desert. They've been seeing these shape-shifting witches for centuries. They can cast spells and imitate your loved ones, or so the mythology goes. And you can find out about this in CaliforniaCityNews.org.
One thing that does that, have you guys ever heard of didgeridoo? I've got a friend who plays it. He's really into that. And they have a great big huge didgeridoo festival that goes on every year over at the Joshua Tree, which I think is kind of cool. He's pretty good at it. I tried playing it, and it's hard. I used to play trumpet, brass kind of instruments when I was younger, but you have to do like this circular breathing it's very difficult to do, very hard to do. So, but they're cool.
We were in Panama. There was a guy there that walked around and joined in wherever, and he also had some kind of special sound bowl. He played some really unique instruments that cause certain vibrations and tones.
Art had one of those singing bowls. The singing bowls. That's
those are neat too. Yep. Oh, I think I might be.
I don't know. Okay. Anything that takes place in what is described as a desert, I'm very skeptical, because like when people aren't prepared for the heat and humidity of where I was raised in South Florida, then they go on vacation there and they don't know how to handle it. So they dehydrate almost immediately.
Yeah.
And all this other stuff. And so I can see how some of these stories in the desert happen.
But then again,
people disappear and die in the desert all the time, because things happen when you are not prepared.
Yeah, like flash floods in Alps right outside of Vegas.
Yeah. So I can also, relate to, again, we don't understand what we saw, or we were delirious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I just got a text from Jose, and he says it's not letting me log back in. When I talked about this same exact location on my pod, everything went bad. Audio connections. Wouldn't be surprised if you have issues with the video on YouTube. Not sure if it's the Masonic building or whatever. I'll search my gallery to see if I have any pictures taken afterwards.
Cool.
So apparently, whenever he tries to talk about this, his stuff all breaks down.
Wow.
That's kind of like on Skinwalker Ranch. Some of their stuff, I'm in their clubs, you can sort of see the stuff that's not on the show. And they go through that a lot, where some things where they try to even talk about it or show it, just knocks their equipment out.
Knocks their equipment out, yeah. Well, energy, electromagnetic energy, will play havoc with anything, and where that comes from is anybody's guess. So yeah, I can see that. Dark Watchers, Santa Lucia Mountains, or Santa Lucia, if you want to pronounce it correctly. Tall, dark figures seen watching hikers, then they vanish when approached. California City News writes, sightings of lost vigilantes oscuros, or the Dark Watchers, stretch back about 300 years. The mysterious figures are even featured in John Steinbeck's short story Flight. The Dark Watchers are said to stalk travelers in the Santa Lucia Mountains. Big Sur, they're described as 7 to 10 feet tall, shadowy, and typically clad in dark cloaks and hats. And again, CaliforniaCityNews.org. You can find out more about that. But yeah, that's very interesting. I don't particularly like hiking for obvious reasons. Anyway, but wait, there's more. but we've barely scratched the surface. The Yucca Man. Is it Yucca or Yucca? It's Yucca, isn't it? Yucca Man. Mojave Desert. Desert Bigfoot. Large, hairy, and with an awful smell. You can find out more about that at A2ZAnimals.com, California Cryptids. Elsie of Lake Elsinore, another lake monster dating back to the 1800s. And again, PBS SoCal, SouthCalifornia.org has a whole section on that, which is very cool.
And what I found hilarious about it is that California public broadcasting stations thing, they have on their picture, that Lake Elsinore has completely dried up more than once.
Oh, wow.
so it's like, where does this go? So I thought that was kind of funny.
That is funny. Maybe you got thirsty. Some more weird bits from Ghost to Sounds. There you go.
There's your Hollywood.
There's my Hollywood sign, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Anza Borrego Desert Hauntings, California's largest state park known for ghosts and glowing figures. You can find that on go to borregosprings.com. Also, the Hollywood Sign Ghost. Actress Peg Entwistle's ghost haunts the iconic sign after her tragic fall. That's a Vanity Fair article. I wonder if her ghost is going to go to Vegas with her.
I was thinking the same thing now. Interesting.
The hooded phantom of Avenue 15 in Madera County. A ghostly hooded figure appears in Tulfog. Tulfog? What the heck is Tulfog?
Yeah, that's what they call that, and I didn't look it up, so I don't know what it is.
Okay, well, it vanishes instantly, so you can look that up on kingsriverlife.com. Lost in the Fog. Things that go boom in the foggy night. The green mist of Chino Hills, spooky green fog linked to urban legends and old cult sites. You can find that on a website called badge415.com. Mystery booms in Sacramento. Explosions heard nightly. No explanation, no damage, just noise and flash. CBSnews.com has that story. We've talked actually a couple of times in a couple of shows, several shows back about strange booms and noises, that haven't really been able to be traced anywhere.
Well, and I've heard those too. And my friend that's a physicist was out and heard that. And he was like, these are not, he didn't know what they were. Yeah. They're very strange.
Yeah, so, I read a story about down in, I want to say Chile. There's an offshoot there. There's I guess, outcrops in the water. And there's caves in there. Some of them are above water and some of them are below. And when the tide is out and a strong wind blows, it gets amplified in these caves and it comes out sounding like just unreasonably loud, like a foghorn or an old windjammer from an old, vessel or something. But can you imagine, before technology, not knowing what the heck that was, all of a sudden you hear this just unbelievably, and there's no, nothing blowing up. There's no, whatever. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
I think that applies for almost everything, though. That's why I also look at dates. What is more recent since we had the technology? What did I just see? And because we pass on all kinds of things to our friends and neighbors and children that we never looked up. So or a lot of us have what do you call it? Predisposition for what we're about to engage because we followed the lore. So even certain amount of us are susceptible to our own mind taking over.
That confirmation bias,
Yeah. Like you tell everybody that this is the creepiest place in the world. Well, everybody's going to walk in and suddenly the hair is going to stand up on the back of their neck, whether there's something in there or not.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I think a lot of that goes on at that Queen Mary ship. You know, because you see like all this stuff and people are already expecting, whatever to happen. And even the rooms that you rent there, they have Ouija boards and all this stuff in there. So you're priming yourself to believe that something's going to happen.
Once they make it a tourist attraction, it draws in money, then there's always going to be somebody doing a little something to enhance the experience.
A little extra.
Well, but that's how I find this thing that Jose was talking about so interesting, because this has not been on YouTube. It's not been, they're just breaking in a building to snoop around, and a bunch of stuff is happening. And like that place I lived in, Dallas, I mean, that was really awful. That was really awful. And I finally had a guy from the Church of England actually came and worked with me on that place, because whatever that was so awful. And the thing is, I didn't talk about it for years, and nobody would believe that if you told them. I mean, nowadays they would, but, so I think the ones that are genuine aren't like broadcast all over the place and, and having tickets sold for tours of the ghosts.
Sure. Yeah.
But I do think there are things that happen just after experiencing it. I just know there are.
Oh no, I definitely have experienced enough on my own of when I walk into somewhere where horrible things, it's just heavy. Or if I walk it, and that's just, but I can. So this friend that we used to have, their daughter had some mental health issues, definite, but she kept trying to explain for years to her parents that something was in her closet, and and so they just kept saying, no, she's doing all this to herself, scratches to herself and all this. Well, anyway, I walked in and she's like, I mean, what would you tell her? This is, and she's showing me the closet, and I was like, oh, it's like 10 degrees colder in there. No. Something was wrong in that closet. And I just knew it the second I stepped in there. Couldn't tell you why.
Children, and I think, people that are quite sensitive, they do pick up on that kind of stuff. And kids in particular.
It all throws off almost a vibration or a frequency that some of us that are sensitive in that way, I guess, to those little slight shifts.
Yep.
So
I like that too. And there's certain, I mean, it's gotten so bad for me that I can't even walk into bars anymore. I can't handle that energy. It's like, so you just have to like gear yourself up to deal with it. But some of those places, whatever that, I definitely want to hear more about what Jose saw at that place.
Oh, yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And now this place is probably nuts too.
Oh, just strange sound at the Hollydale Asylum in Downey. Well, it's an abandoned site, obviously, with ghosts and sounds. Strange lights. The Hollydale Sanatorium, now commonly known as the Hollydale Mental Hospital, is a former Los Angeles County poor farm, later Rancho Los Amigos, an abandoned asylum in Downey, California, served as a refuge for the elderly, homeless, mentally ill, and disabled, and eventually becoming its own town within Downey. The facility closed down and fell into disrepair in the 1980s. This image comes from a Reddit urban exploration thread.
It's an interesting thread. Very interesting. So
begs the question. What's really going on in California? Whether it's monsters, mist, or mysterious booms, one thing's for sure. California isn't just weird. It's next level strange. So if you're driving at night, see a tall shadow watching from the ridge, or a pair of pants walking on their own, maybe just keep going. Or better yet, call the show. Tell us about it.
So, these energies that what do you guys think those are?
I have no idea.
Because
you can't destroy matter.
Right.
It's energy, and you can't destroy energy. It's got to go somewhere in some form or another. Whether that be anything from the natural world or from the supernatural world is anyone's guess. To categorically say the stuff doesn't exist, or people are just imagining things, I think does a disservice not only to the people who are experiencing it, but to the possibilities of others experiencing it.
I actually sort of thought about it in the way like, okay, that facility, my mom has been in and out of different types of mental facilities. And yeah, for a while over the years, but now she's in a lockdown dementia ward. We call them things like that instead of asylum.
Right.
The difference with asylum is something usually violent has happened. You know, that they like, I have a friend who has an autistic son. Well, now he's 30 and he's strong. And so when he throws a temper tantrum, it's
dangerous.
Dangerous.
Yeah.
Very dangerous.
And so he would have to go to places where people are dangerous. And she, you know, so she keeps him at home as much as she can. But anyway, in these places where over decades and years, horrible things have happened and all that negative energy, wouldn't it have kind of shifted the energy, therefore the frequency of that space to an extent to where just when you walk in, you know something's off?
Yeah.
And it usually in a way that makes you go, ooh, I don't like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you are one of those, I guess like I am, that you sense something is, because I feel that heaviness even now visiting my mom in her facility. Anytime I walk through the facilities like that,
a lot of people have died in
you
there,
you just feel the hopelessness and it's an energy everybody in there is giving off, from the staff to the patients.
Yeah.
Exactly. So,
and who knows what that attracts?
Well, and that's the thing. So, and when they have the ability to move physical objects in our reality, that's the thing. It's like, what on earth creates that? Because, you know, having seen it myself, Jose saw that. It really it just makes you like, what? It makes you question your reality.
Well, we have a firm setting in our own realities. And everyone shared reality. Gravity exists.
Yes,
things don't fly, you know, by themselves, you know, or whatever. If you were talking to someone hundreds of years ago and trying to explain to them what a 747 was,
yeah,
you know, so you know we see what we see, and we kind of try to explain that to ourselves, but the way that you really want to get freaked out, talk to a particle physicist. It's energy affects everything, and sometimes it doesn't stay within the confines of what we understand physics to be, gravity. Things moving on their own. They're not moving on their own. There is an external force. We just can't see it. So to say, oh, you know, you're full of it, there's no way that, you know, that happened. Well, no, you don't know that, because there are, as we progress in our technological advancements, there are instruments that can detect things that even 20 years ago, energy fields they couldn't detect, black holes, just all kinds of stuff. And, you know, the more we understand it, I think the better we are. But there's a lot of people that keep, you know, blinders on and say, no, that's impossible. Can't happen. Nothing moves by itself. No, you're right. Nothing moves by itself. You just can't see what's moving it.
You know, that when when we were in Panama, there was one house where we had a secondary bathroom. We'd be in the other side of the house, just us down for the night in the living room watching a movie, and the toilet would just flush. Or the sink would suddenly come on in this one bathroom. And it was, we'd be like, what the hell?
Yeah, I know, right?
I don't, and it kept happening at random times. And I was like, I swear to God, we're sharing our house with the original owner.
You might be, you know, a part of me wonders too, if like electricity or something like that, like enhances some of this stuff. Because like that thing I went through last summer where it literally was in a different reality from what everybody else was. But then I had the phone records to prove it afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So, but what had happened was this crazy, weird storm that happened here, and a lot of electricity and thunder, lightning, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, I'd be curious, like that place that Jose saw, or like the house you guys were in with the bathroom, or even like that place that I was was in, if it had like some kind of weird electrical like pulse, or maybe it was near something that was like charging something. I don't know.
Well,
but that's one of my theories.
Electricity is amplified energy. It's
Right.
it's neurons, it's protons, it's electrons. It's the same thing that's all around us. Depending on the density, whether it's a liquid, a solid, or gas, or just pure energy. Electricity is not a new thing. Obviously, you know,
Right.
We've had lightning for millennia. So what can amplify electricity, and in what, and I can get very technical, and I'm not, because I'm a technician, but I can tell you, when you start having effects on energy with varying degrees of amperage and voltage and ohms, anything can happen. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it came from something that we've built, a light switch,
Right.
or, you know, some sort of potentiometer. It could come from anywhere. And just because we don't know where it comes from doesn't mean that it doesn't exist.
Right.
Electrical waves, electricity, and it comes in waves. It comes in frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
And if you get a frequency that is on the same frequency as a solid object, and you get a wave that hits that, you won't see it, but you'll see whatever hit fly across the room. And that's not supernatural, but it is. We don't know where it comes from. We know it exists, but we don't know where it comes from because we can't see it. So could it be a ghost? Why not?
And that's the thing, because that really shook me last summer, and I still think about it, because my first thought was, do I need to see a psychologist, until I got the proof that it actually happened. But there were 3 huge storms unexpectedly that all convened over our town. And we're at high desert at like, what are we, like 5,500, 5,800 feet altitude, and had a flash flood up here.
Yeah.
That just is unheard of. And so, but there was so many of the electrical energy that was happening that it just makes me, so some of this stuff, I can't help if it just either changes our perception or allows us to see something in like a parallel reality or whatever. But when you get proof, and so like Jose said, he's going to find gallery pictures of this, and that's the part I love. Personal stories with proof are fantastic.
Oh yeah. Well, you got to, I think what a lot of people don't understand about how all this works has got a lot to do with why there's a lot of skepticism out there. Now, some stuff, obviously, you could tell it's a hoax. You could tell someone's been messing around with what, but there's so much we don't know. But there's also a lot that we do about how energy is manifested. And, there's a lot of really, really respectable astrophysicists that will tell you this. It is a distinct possibility that there are multiple universes.
Yeah.
And there's no reason why, under the certain conditions or the right conditions, some of that can't leak, or be transmitted back and forth. Storms, how a storm amplifies electrical energy is just unbelievable. There's a guy named, I call him $2 Chuck. He's a meteorologist, and he's been doing stuff. I had a radio show with him back in Norman, Oklahoma, which is a great place to be if you're going to be a what do you call them? Meteorologist. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a lot that we don't know. So, take the blinders off, or just remove them for a while and just open yourself up to the possibilities, because these aren't just, freaky, I'm just going crazy in my head ghost stories. This is the natural world that is being affected by things we can't see and hear, or the supernatural. And like I said, could it be ghosts? It could be anything. So I'm not going to sit here and say, no, that's impossible.
And then when you hear it from people with integrity like Day or Jose, or when we'll hear your experiences too, El, you just know we're not the type of people to just make this crap up for whatever. And I think,
it's like, pretending to be gay in the 60s. There's absolutely no benefit and only danger.
Yeah.
It's why would you do that? Why would you put yourself under the ridicule of the, especially if you go public with it?
Yeah.
It's not like someone's going to say, "Oh, well, you saw a ghost. Here's $1 million." No, they're going to say, there's a place in Downey that we need to put you.
Yep. Well, and the thing is, I think, it's good that people can start talking about it, because I personally feel that the way things are headed, we need to really build and care about our communities these days.
Yeah.
And part of having a community is being honest. So whether you're going to talk about this stuff or other things, I think it's important. Yeah. Well, I want to thank you all. I kept you a little while. We're on over our hour, but this was good. Yeah. So good to see you both. And thanks to both of you and Jose, wherever you may be at this time. But we have been going through something in this area. It's just been like this morning. I mean, everything was like dark, nothing working, power out, no internet. So we're in the storms now.
You're in the zone.
Yeah, we are. Well, you guys have a wonderful Easter weekend. And
sitting, chilling, watching TV, and doing chores. That's about it.
Yep, that's.
I gotta clean my truck. We gotta clean the truck.
I was hoping to plant stuff, and it's like, well, it's snowy out. I better wait another weekend. So I'm gonna just be lazy and veg out for once.
Cool.
All right. Well, we'll see you next weekend, and you guys take care. Good to see you.
Thanks so much for joining us. We love hearing your stories, so tell your friends so they can join the party. For show notes and our forum of high strangeness, visit CosmicFold.com. Remember, Cosmic Fold airs live on Wednesday and Saturday nights, so be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell to know when we're on air. Thanks again and have a great evening.